I'm Matthew Kemps with Lone Wolf Realty Group at Spyglass Realty.
Matt Kirschling with Gold Star Mortgage.
And we got,
I'm Russ Cullum with Lone Wolf Realty Group at Spyglass Realty.
and this is Two Mats, One Market.
Russ's second episode now.
Second time.
First time on Two Mats, One Market, though.
Yeah. The last one was just us two.
They kind of all bleed together, though.
Yeah.
I was even going to ask you if you two just wanted to do it on your own. I've been doing a reasonable amount of podcasts. When I first started, I was doing like 5 a week.
Yeah.
Now I'm doing like 2 or 3.
Yeah, you were hitting it heavy for a while to get it going.
You got to. And now I've just got so much freaking footage. I almost am full with a 5 terabyte hard drive.
Oh, God. I bought a 1 terabyte hard drive 4 years ago, and I'm still using it. So
Oh, I bet.
That's a lot.
One of the other guys, Chase Kangalosi, who does a podcast with us, Market on the Rocks, we had a guest on that, he wants to work with, and he came in and he goes, "Hey, I really want to give the footage to Alexa. She'd be really excited to have it. She wants to post it." And I said, "Sure." He goes, here's a USB stick. And I plug it in, and it's a 36 megabyte USB stick. And I'm like, this won't even hold a 1 hour episode.
Yeah.
He's like, "What?" He's like, I erased I probably had like 100 contracts on here. I'm like, dude.
Yeah, data, not video.
Right, exactly.
That's so true. We do a lot of, I've noticed filming stuff that that's the hardest part is the data transfer. It takes forever no matter what you're using, and it fills up. Like filming on your phone, you might as well have a different phone for it. It's just full immediately
Right.
from even the smallest clips. So I can understand. This is a lot of work to balance all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, good to have you back.
Good to be back.
I think the last time you were on, it was probably cold outside, so it's been probably 8-9 months.
Yeah, coming close to a year, yeah.
But you've been crushing it. We were just talking about it off camera, getting a lot of listings,
Yeah,
getting
it's
into
been
that
good.
luxury market. That 7-figure
Trying to, yeah.
price point. What's the secret sauce?
I'll let Matt take that. He seems to know. But for me, trying to get into it, I think what my strategy is trying to get in those neighborhoods, take those listing appointments, and then when you do score one, that's the ones you advertise with the fancy signs with your face on them, and make sure you just want to be known in that area. And like this last one was just from being right place, right time in the right neighborhood. So that tells you.
Let's tell that story.
Yeah, so it's been just crazy the last few days. So I had an appointment at a duplex in Bastrop. Nice duplex, but typical sale. I think it was listed at $560. Went in, and it was a mother and her son. And we went in, looked around. They liked it a lot, said, "We'll take it." We actually got them down to $530, and we had them pay to do the sewer tap, to hook up the sewer, which isn't cheap. So we got a really good deal for them.
They being the sellers.
Yeah, the sellers, yeah.
So like into the city line, you mean? To like get off the septic?
Yeah, so this neighborhood, Tahitian Village, it used to be only septic. So a lot of these lots were, they basically just got given away to family members and stuff. They were almost valueless, and now they have access to sewer. So builders are building duplexes and houses out there, so they just increase the value like crazy. And it costs quite a bit to tap into that sewer. So we had the seller do it. So they're super happy. They're fixing everything. And then a little bit later that same day, the son called me up saying, "Hey, we really like that experience with you. Do you want to help us sell our other property, which is 5 acres? It's in Spicewood. It's really, really close to Reimer's Ranch and like all that stuff."
Yep.
There's actually a awesome rock climbing place out there called Monster Rock, and it's like right around the corner. So we've actually talked about, I'm probably going to take one of the owners, the son climbing, because I'm like, you got a killer spot right here. But anyway, so we're listing that. That one's 5 acres, really beautiful 5 acres on this nice old farmhouse it needs some upkeep, but it's a great home. So we're going to list that at $1 million. And then we got a listing appointment from one of our lead sources the next day in Steiner Ranch. And he was kind of hard-nosed at first. Didn't seem like he really wanted to list, like he's been kind of burned before, but we got him for $1,050,000 is what we ended up at. So we're going to try the Austin Luxury Network, but got that one locked up. And then the really crazy part of the story is I was at one of my listings in the Hollows, which Matt has a listing there as well. It's over by the lake, really nice neighborhood. It kind of looks like a summer camp for wealthy people. Honestly, it's really
That's what it
really
is.
nice homes.
Yeah.
So I was out putting open house signs up for the open house I was doing, and I was getting followed by this car. And in my head, it's this nice community. It's a lot of retirees, and so I was thinking, no, they're going to tell me not to put signs up. They're going to like give me a hard time. They finally caught up to me and asked if I was a realtor. I said yes. They said, "Do you work in the area?" And I was like, "Yeah, I have a listing right up here." And they said they had this nice new house they just built. I mean, it's barely done. There's still construction material in the backyard that they're waiting to have cleared away, and they'd like to get my opinion on it. So I told them I have this open house, but I'll finish it at 6, and I went right over. In the meantime, I had Matt look online because I was, at this busy here, and we found out it is a very nice house. So we're going to go live with that one probably September 5th at 1.75 million. And this has been 3 days. I mean, crazy.
So anytime stuff like this happens, I always ask people because I think about, my success, and people will ask me like, how did this happen? And you can attribute it to luck. But then when I really start thinking about it, I'm like, well, I got this appointment because I did this, and then I ended up getting that appointment because I did that. And usually I can like dial it down to like maybe a dinner or a networking event or something along those lines that like at the moment I was like, man, I really don't want to like go.
Fully agree.
But I went anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that you can kind of, as you go down the line, like you kind of started the story with the duplex customers, but, was there anything about those clients or anything about the situation that you were kind of like, man, I don't know. I mean, Bastrop's kind of far for you.
Yeah, it is far. No, I 100% agree. And I've actually had conversations with other agents on our team about this because I feel like a lot of agents, and I think this is from, honestly, it's from my days when I was working in restaurants when I was a lot younger, because people would say, oh, I didn't make a lot of tips tonight, and this was a bad night. And I always tried to change it to, I'm looking at this as what I made for the year. You're going to have some bad nights, but then you're going to have an amazing night. So
Sure.
That's how I like to look at it. And I've had a lot of open houses, that are completely empty. But I also just did one that landed me a $1.75 million contract.
Right.
So spread that over those empty open houses, I'm still net positive. So it's like, go to the open houses just on the off chance someone comes. Go do the FAR showing. You never know when one of those things is going to be the right place, right time, and then it's going to set you up for the next, part of it where now you got your name and your face in those nice neighborhoods, and you gotta just grind. And that if you're looking for immediate success, this is not the business. Like it's a grind. Slowly starts to get better, and you do get to that spot where you're getting those good listings and everything's a little bit more elevated and you're making a little more money, but it doesn't just happen. Like you got to get kicked in the teeth a few times before that stuff can happen.
Well, I hear salespeople a lot that'll, they'll say things like, oh, that's a waste of my time, or I'm not doing it, it's a waste of my time. Open houses are a waste of time. Going to closings are a waste of time. Cold calling, to some people, the leads suck, it's a waste of time. But then I always ask like, well, okay, if you're not going to do that, then what are you doing?
Exactly.
Right? And I find as salespeople, like, I catch people doing things that are not work related and avoiding things that they find as a waste of time, which, because to your point, you could do an open house, and one open house could be a waste of time if you maybe decided not to.
Most of them are.
Right.
But if you get that one thing, all of a sudden it's not a waste of time. None of them were. Because I try to divide that. I actually do the math on paper just for curiosity's sake. I'm like, okay, these were nothing, but out of the last 20 open houses, I got one client, and we closed at this. Yeah. So break that down. You know what I mean?
How many I worked, but divided by 20.
Yeah.
Well, and that's like Matt and I do, stuff with leads.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same thing. Like, if we look at the amount of money that we've spent over like a 60 or 90-day timeline, it could go either way, right? We could be like, oh my God, this is the best lead source we've ever seen. You close like 2 or 3 transactions off of a 90-day lead campaign. You're like hooting and hollering that you just did the smartest thing in the world. But then
the next one's nothing.
Right, you go 2-3 months and you don't close anything, and it's like, it's right. Or it could go the other way, and it's like it's a marathon, not a sprint. So I like.
You said something one time. I can't remember what deal we're working on together, but it was one of our deals, and you said something about a lot of buyers don't think they can afford as much as they can. And you mentioned, okay, that price you're wanting to pay, that monthly payment, this is more. But can you honestly tell me that difference you would save every single month? Because the answer is no. But you would probably end up buying stuff that you don't really need with that. At least this, you're building toward ownership. So it's the same principle. It's like you can extend yourself more than you think you can, and then you get some good out of it, and it's...
I mean, it depends on what you're going to do with it. It's kind of the same thing I just said. It's like, well, if this is a waste of time, what other money-making activity are you going to replace it with? Because, I run into it all the time where it's not that people can't buy it, it's that they don't want to buy it because they have a number in their head that they need their payment to be so that they can continue a lifestyle that isn't about saving or investing into anything. It's about, going out to Rainy Street or, buying, getting the car, whatever it is, whatever thing that is not a money-making activity, even
stuff
in that
they
instance.
don't really need to do.
Right. See it a lot.
I can say that about this podcast right now.
Yeah.
We're talking to each other and talking to a camera.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like what good is that doing me right now? I don't even know what's going to happen out of this.
One person could hear one clip and then, boom, worth it.
Yep.
Yeah, I find that the podcast, for the most part, is big in terms of like validation. I had it happen again yesterday. It happens to me about once a month where I get on a call, and it was actually your client, the gentleman who works for the state. And, I said, look, I try not to go into talking about how awesome I am, right? Because no one has anything but good things to say about themselves. Yeah. But I would just encourage you, go online. I'll send you some links to some reviews and everything like that. I work really hard to make sure that, clients have said nice things about me. He goes, no, we're good. I've already done enough research on you. And that's what the podcast has done where, if you have the reviews, you've got the social media stuff going on. I mean, even just being able to watch like a 30-second clip of someone just having a basic conversation with other people, you get a much better idea of who that person is versus like looking at someone's headshot at, guaranteed rate or something like that.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a good point.
Vice President?
Yeah, everybody's the VP of sales over there. Everybody.
That's a good point, though. I heard somewhere when we were with Lone Wolf, we were like going really hard into the YouTube stuff for a few months. So I researched and I was watching these videos about, how you get successful in YouTube and how you build it. And a lot of them were saying that the key is a back catalog. Yep. So you want to have so much stuff to where when that one guy says, Matt Kirschling, and types it in, he can spend hours looking at stuff you've done. Because if you have one video, you just took up 30 seconds of their time, it's gone. But if there's tons of stuff in a back, even if you get one view on it, have it there and ready to go. Because then when people do start to notice, they have something to go through and binge, watch everything.
I mean, I encourage all salespeople to Google themselves. I mean, we do this. Yeah. We have like a branch manager meeting that I do with a couple other branch managers. And the irony is some of the best loan officers that I know, their online presence is awful. Yeah. And I don't, I just can't understand that where like you kind of need to be good in all facets, right? And I think they hang their hat on like, well, I'm the best loan officer. I know what I'm doing. And it's like sometimes perception can become reality where, you Google me versus another top-notch LO. You're looking at what is online. You're like, wow, this dude is really like invested in this business.
Yeah, it shows hustle too,
Sure.
In fact, now, it used to be where people didn't really know the work that goes into social media, but now just about everyone has something to do with it. So people know that it's not easy. It's a job uploading stuff and filming videos, and it's editing especially. Oh my gosh, editing is such a pain. So like people know what kind of work goes into it.
It's gotten real easy for me, but it was very difficult to learn at first.
That is not my thing.
Yeah.
I'll sit there and like look at the same clip over and over again. I'm like, I have to get out of here. This is too much for me.
Command Z, Command Z, Command Z. Yeah,
like one little line difference, but it does. I mean, some of the editings are like 1 millisecond clip that you got to take out and you just have to catch it and over again.
Yeah, but you can blow them up real big. See, these are all the things that like, I know what you're saying, but after you do it like 900 times, I mean, we're probably at like 130 episodes right now.
Damn. Yeah. Got up there quick.
Well, July 7th was our 1-year anniversary, and today's like 20th of August, so it's been over a year. And
I can't believe how fast that's going.
See?
Yeah, speaking of summer, it's almost over, but yesterday was like 110 degrees.
Yeah.
It's even hotter today. So
It's
I was
supposed to be
watching the news
107
at lunch.
today, I think.
108.
108.
Yeah, and then with the heat index, they say it's going to be like 110. My parents live down in San Antonio, and they called me yesterday, and they're like, we called someone out here to get. So they've only been here for 2 years, right? And they're from Ohio, and they're like, we called someone out here to take a look at the furnace. I'm like, why? I literally just got a brand new AC unit and furnace for this house last year. I'm like, why? They're like, it's so hot in here. I'm like, and it's even warmer down there. I'm like,
Ugh.
it's 110 degrees. Like, what do you like?
Yeah.
There's, he's like, it's like 80. I'm like, in the house? He's like, yeah. I'm like, that sounds about right. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Like, you guys don't go anywhere, right? It's not like they're at work or anything. I'm like, you're gonna need to figure this out. I bet it's 160 in your attic.
That's AC's probably doing as much as it can at that point.
Right.
When it's that hot.
It's like, what do you expect? Like, go take a nap. I don't know.
We do a lot of me and
Get
my
naked.
Yeah.
right. That's the beauty of the heat. You can take stuff off. Me and my wife do a lot of running and trail running and stuff. And there's one race that it's a little much for us. Like it's on a different level, but part of me has always wanted to do it, and it's called the Death Valley. It's the Badwater 135.
Yeah.
So it's 135 miles through Death Valley, the
Isn't that
hottest
like
place.
Goggins does that? I've heard of
He
it.
did it once, yeah.
Yeah.
It's hottest place on the planet. The average temp is 127 is the average. So it's legal, like literally the hottest place on Earth. You start from, I think it's, don't quote me on this, but it's like 200 below sea level, and you end up in the Sierra Nevadas at 14,000 feet. So you'd go through the entire desert at 127 degrees, and then you go up 14,000 feet. It's insane.
And that's running 135
It's
miles?
running, yeah. It takes about, elites will do it in like 3-4 days, but I mean, I think they cap it off at a certain point, but they do it. The really badass guys like Goggins, which debatable if it's actually a health thing or not. Like, it's not good for you to run that much without stopping.
Yeah.
But he'll do it in like 3 days, no stopping. And there's an even crazier one called the Moab 240 that's 240 miles through the Moab desert.
That just doesn't even sound fun. Like, why would you
awful.
do that?
So you can stay hard.
It isn't fun during it, but it's like as soon as you finish it, like we did that ultra recently over at Reimers Ranch actually. And
How far was that?
It's an ultra, so it was over a marathon. I think it was like 30 miles, just about 30 miles. But I did that one, and it's like, it sucks during it, but the finish, like when you finish it, there is like a high that comes with it.
I hope so.
And it feels very good to finish it.
Well, I'm going to let you guys have fun.
It's fun.
I'll be there at the finish line for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on, man. It's actually pretty fun. They have bands and like stuff. They make a party out of it. But yeah, I can't even imagine.
I ran a 5-mile Spartan race with obstacles, and it was awful.
Yeah.
Fucking hated it.
And
So-
Spartan races are the ones with, well, no, Spartan race is actually kind of tough. The Tough Mudder has turned into like your grandma can go with you. Like
Yeah.
it's turned into like a very mild thing. They have some hardcore ones, but they used to be very hard. Spartan kind of took over for like the hey, we actually want some challenges. So they turned it into Spartan.
I had a bunch of friends come down from Cleveland, and as a birthday gift to me, they bought me my ticket to the Spartan race, but they let me know like 90 days beforehand. So I was like, okay, so I trained for it, right? I didn't want to not look like, I didn't want to look like a slob.
Yeah.
So I was running 5 miles a day, 4 days a week, and just basically, being able to do the run. And then for the obstacles, I'd lift 2 days a week. So I did this for 90 days. And of course, they come down and we're partying like the entire weekend. The race is on a Sunday. So I wake up and everyone's just like super hungover, but we're going to run the race. And I realized that it was their idea, not mine. And everybody that I was with, nobody trained for it. Like they all like go to the gym and work out and whatnot, but like
general stuff.
nobody trained for it. So we get about 1.5 miles in, and I realize like they're dying, and I'm like slowing down, and I am hating this like whole thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm ditching you guys because all I want to do is finish this race.
Yeah.
I'm not sticking around and waiting for you. So I ended up finishing at a pretty decent time, and like for my age and everything, I think I finished 8th in my like bracket.
Yeah.
and like something like 30th overall or whatever. It was like 100, 200 people. And one of the girls that we were with ended up going to the hospital. And like,
I've seen it.
It was just.
So it's like, I don't know. It's a weird feeling like that. Katie will train pretty hard. I don't train super hard for them, but I just have this thing. If it's a competition, there's no way in hell I'm not finishing it.
Right.
Like I'll die before I don't. And I just can't change that. So that last one, the 30 miler, I for some reason, I can't remember why, but I couldn't train that much. I think I might have been sick, before or something, but I actually won. I got first in my age group, and
Wow.
Katie was like, my wife was like, how did you just do that? And I'm like, if it's a competition, there's no stopping me. But training wise, if it's like just going for a run, I'll get a few miles in and be like, I'm tired. I don't want to do this. But if it's like people running with me and I don't want to be the first one to, bow out. So it's kind of different, if it's a comp.
You just like summarize what your success comes from.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a competition, I'm not going to stop.
Yeah.
But
Don't get in Russ's way.
it's like, I don't know. And training, that's what made me think of it, is training is like, if you have to hold yourself accountable, it's so much harder. But if you turn everything into a competition, it makes everything easier. So like when we're doing our calls and stuff, I'm refreshing the leaderboard like every 2 seconds because I'm like, I'm going to beat everyone on this today.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps me do it. If there was no scoreboard, I probably wouldn't do it.
Wait till you see the Bull Trail one. It's even
I'm
more
excited,
intense.
yeah.
That's super interesting to me because, people have asked me because I'm competitive, but in a different way. So like what I do is I look at what I want to achieve. I reverse engineer what it's going to take to get there. And then I just compete with myself in terms of like accountability. Because anytime I compete with other people, it can sometimes discourage me in a bad way if I'm at the top of the pack. Or even if I'm first.
I totally get what you mean. Sometimes I'll take my foot off the gas a little bit. And but it's good that we're continuing to grow and everything's, there's always things to learn and get ahead of the curve at, which help. But I have caught myself a few times like where I looked at my last, a week and I'm like, okay, I need to shake it up. And like there's some people coming for me in like numbers. I'm like, okay, it's step on the gas. Like, here we go. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Like if you're competing with everyone else and then you end up on top, who else? Where's your motivation?
Like if you're the first person in the race and you're looking back, that's the tortoise and the hare. What's the hare do? He fucking takes a nap.
Yeah,
right.
That's a good point. Yeah,
that's
just how I have to do it though. It works for me for now. Like I have to. It's not about even like beating someone else. It's like proving to myself that I can win. At whatever it is.
What's the furthest you've ever ran in one
5K.
5K.
3.1 miles.
Dude, I do not run. That is not a Kempsey thing.
So I tell everyone this. No one ever believes me on it, but so when I start running, there's a point like your first, even on run clubs and like bigger, like more, not necessarily elite ones, but people that know what they're doing, they'll do like a 2-mile warm up or a 3-mile warm up before they even start their run.
Yeah.
And it's because there is a point where I don't really do those warm-ups. I just do it as I'm running. But the first 3 miles, sometimes even a little bit longer, I hate it. I feel like shit. My back hurts, my lower back. Everything aches. You hit a point where everything sort of like falls into place and you get stretched out and you're good. And then you hit that and you can run forever. And it's like, it's hard. I feel like most people don't let themselves get to that.
Yeah.
And then you can.
No idea what that's like.
Yeah, you would hit it though. I'm telling you.
I think a lot of cardio is like that. I box a lot. I boxed this morning, and we did 10-minute rounds, which I normally do not do. Like I won't do more.
Boxing's legit. That is a workout.
I won't do more than like 3 to 5 minute rounds. And today I was like, okay, because we'll split them. We'll do like 2 minutes and then 30-second break, 2 minutes. Sometimes I'll do 3 minutes with a 1 minute break. I was like, we're gonna do a full blown 10-minute round. On like each station, whether it's double end bag, heavy bag, whatever, and kind of to your point, like the first 2 minutes is always kind of just like, oh man, I'm gonna gas out, and then you kind of hit your stride. But furthest I've run is 10 miles, man. I've never run over 10 miles, and even when I did that, it was tough.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's crazy how quickly you can progress in running though, but you lose it just as fast.
Yeah.
Like if you run for like right now, if you walked out, maybe not in this weather, but if you started running right now and stayed consistent, in a month you could seriously finish a marathon.
That was like in the
honestly.
Spartan race. I mean, I
Yeah.
was doing really well. And the thing for me that I hated about that race was just how the disgusting obstacles that they make you do. Like,
Yeah, you're in the water that everyone just sweated in. And
it's not even that, dude. It was on a farm up in Gerald.
Oh, Gerald and yeah.
And
some
there's just like
rough
the whole
areas
thing
there.
smelled like cow shit, and like the water's just like thick. And then you're like climbing up hills and stuff. And you know, the day before we did all of this, because I didn't do much research other than just practicing for like, you know, being able to run. But all of my crew gets in from Cleveland, and they're all wearing the official like Spartan shoes, which are basically just like running shoes with cleats on the bottom so
Yeah,
that you
the
can like
spikes.
climb up these hills and everything. And I'm like, well, what the fuck am I going to do? Because I was just going to run them in like tennis shoes.
Yeah, running shoes.
They're like, there's no way that you can do that. So I had a pair of combat boots, and I ran them in combat boots just so that I could have the traction. But they weigh like 2 pounds a piece, you know?
That's
And
bad.
when I finished, there were so many pictures of me, and dudes were like, they thought I did it on purpose to be like hardcore.
Yeah.
You know, and
That's
I was
funny.
like, I just didn't have shoes for this. Like, bro, combat boots, fuck yeah. Like,
Were they asking you like what branch you were in and all that?
well, yeah, because I got a shaved head and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, man, I'm just wearing combat boots. Like,
that race out there in Reimers, it had just rained a ton.
yeah,
So my man, like it got so bad to where we all had mud up to our knees, and your feet just weighed so much. So you had to stop, take your shoes off, and like hit them on a rock because it was just nuts. That heavy feet like that is, yeah, I can feel you. Even on a shorter race, that's
right.
tough.
Yeah, I mean, it was only 5 miles, but
Still.
yeah, it was. I'll never do it again. Never.
So, speaking of Gerald, going back to real estate, did y'all hear about this like Disneyland thing?
Last year.
That rumor?
Yeah.
Why in the hell would they pick Gerald to make? So it's like a storage facility they bought, right? They're building like a.
They bought 100. It's like 130 or 150 acres.
So I had a bunch of homeowners out there telling me that it's going to be the new Disney World.
No, it's not.
I'm like, okay, I think they would have picked somewhere else.
Yeah, that's
but
not what I heard.
No, it's going to be like a senior living.
Yeah,
like a Disney Village.
Yeah.
yeah, and it's gonna be like based
That
on.
makes more sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is when I don't remember what title company got the contract, but I remember when they got it, and I was coincidentally closing the same title company. Like, you know, I can't believe it we just got. And she was, I can't say anything, but this is Disney's buying property here, and I think I'm not gonna say the name, but
It was
anyways,
originally gonna be in Salado though.
yeah, it was
Hmm.
originally Salado, and then that's when we were talking with Ellen. She had that
interesting.
listing up there,
Yeah,
and she goes, "Oh, Disneyland's gonna be across the street from this listing."
So
Yeah.
it's like a Sun City type thing, except Disney.
Yeah, so like go look up.
That's cool.
There's a really, and this is, I don't know if they're gonna do it here because Gerald's not like a destination location, but there's a place in Florida where it's all Disney themed.
Yeah,
And-
Kissimmee St. Cloud.
No, it's more than that. Like in property values are 10 to 20 million.
Oh yeah. Well, I know there's that Disney Village there that it's in Florida.
It's not like it's a normal subdivision, but inside of the houses it's all Disney themed.
Oh, it's not owned by Disney
No.
whatsoever. Oh, okay.
No, it's like an HOA that's associated with
yeah,
Disney.
we rented one of those when we
that's so
did Craig
crazy.
Proctor. So that's when we did that event in Orlando that I was telling you about, where we rented
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
by Orlando.
yeah,
It's
we
it's 2 miles from the
yeah,
park.
it's right by the Omni. So we rented a house
That's
in that
nuts.
development. It looks normal from the outside, but the entire thing was like Disney themed.
Yeah.
And at the time, because I was with a bunch of real estate
crazy.
agents, they looked it up. It was worth like 4.8 million.
Yeah. And was that 5
had,
6 years ago?
What, dude? That is just nuts.
6 years ago.
Yeah.
The influence that company has is just insane.
Like Kaylee was looking it up yesterday. She goes, "Oh, you know, one day when we get this." I'm
She
like,
loves Disney, right?
Oh, dude.
I don't get it.
I don't get the adult Disney, but I respect it. If that's what people are into, awesome.
Teach
People
me.
should have the thing
Teach
they
me.
can.
Teach me.
But it's like I don't.
So, anyways, we're looking at this stuff, and she's showing me houses in here, and there's a brokerage that just runs that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like it's like Cimarron Hills Realty, right?
Yeah.
If you had a listing in Spanish Oaks, is a better example.
Yeah.
Spanish Oaks has a development, has their own realty office there, and if
Mhm.
one is their original lots and it's a builder associated with them, Spanish Oaks Realty will list that property.
Gotcha.
If it's a resale, totally separate.
Yeah.
So Disney has this association with them, right? And for you to be able to, there's requirements through the HOA on your internal portion of your property that you had to have like Disney themed couch. You have to have Disney themed walls. Like one of it was like, so I
Wow.
forget how Harry Potter's not Disney at all, right? Or is it?
I think it is. No, it's Universal.
Okay, there was a themed something, and the entire house was like crazy, crazy fucking themed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, no offense, but who the fuck is spending $15 million on a Disney house?
Yeah, that's expensive too. Like that, not just the home, like even the decorating is. That's a
and like one of the listings was advertising a $200,000 resale
That's an
package for all the
event.
furniture.
yeah, that's nuts, dude.
Is there anything that you can think of that's like Disney for like I was-
Coca-Cola has like a big fan club like that. So
Is that right?
not as big as Disney, but there's
Right.
people
No, I don't
that
think
have
there's
like,
anything as big as Disney.
There's
but
people
like,
that have.
But there's no like
merch.
Coca-Cola cruises and stuff.
So we
What about the
actually bought-
WWE?
Maybe John Cena. We actually bought my
A
grandfather.
lot of people like that shit, man.
That's true. My grandfather bought. You remember they were GMC. They're from the '70s. Those old motor coaches, the old like RVs that were real funky looking. They
Like
were
the Airstreams?
no, not
Oh.
that. Here, I can show you a picture. But they're really cool RV. I love them. But they're
Okay.
like shag carpet, like
Oh,
uber
yeah.
'70s RV.
Yeah.
So he's had two of them. One was a normal one. He bought another one that was it's white and red, right? And he purchased it from this guy that was like a Coca-Cola exec at one time,
Mhm.
and they used it as a promo vehicle to drive around. And you walk into it, everything Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
So the pillows were bottle caps, the carpet, head to toe, Coca-Cola, everything.
Jeez.
And he bought it, and he said that there's actually a market for that. There's like Coca-Cola diehards that would jump all over that van, and he sold it like that.
That's how I feel about Lone Star beer.
Yeah, same kind of thing. I have a Lone Star hat, and I don't really even drink beer. I just think it's cool.
I'm trying to get sponsored by Lone Star.
Yeah.
Try to bring them up like almost every episode. It'll happen.
It'll happen one day.
Your light spear sucks though.
I do like their logo or their saying, the national beer of Texas.
Hell yeah.
That's a great saying.
The red
Amen.
can is great. Blue can.
Yeah, Lone Star Light's not my favorite.
I don't know if I've even had Lone Star Light ever.
We have it in the
You're not
fridge.
missing.
It was gifted, and it's just not the same.
I remember
It's
the
shit
old,
shotgun.
the old Keystone days back
Dude,
in high
Keystone
school.
was so underrated.
Get a 30-pack
Get a
of
30 pack of
Keystone.
Stones.
That was it, man.
PBRs, Keystones, all underrated.
Yeah, PBR is just good,
Yeah.
no matter
Yep.
what you say.
I would agree with that.
Not as good as Lone Star, though.
That's right. Amen. Anything else you want to cover real estate related?
No, yeah, we kinda
Yeah,
got
a little bit
sidetracked.
actually. More of a reach out to agents when that who would be listening to
Let's
this.
do it. You want to talk about Bold Trail?
No, I wasn't even gonna go there.
Okay.
I was gonna go on forms and the changes.
Okay.
Just because I'm running into so many different scenarios where we're still learning stuff, but we are getting trained through the brokerage on how to handle these different scenarios. So then we as a agent in the brokerage know how to handle some of these transactions and when these things pop up.
Yeah.
I can almost, I don't want to say guaranteed, but like I'll bet on it that you're at a brokerage right now that has not explained to you and walked you through different types of scenarios that may happen. So like I'm gonna throw one that popped up today. Okay, Russ, you're gonna be buyer's agent. I'm gonna be seller's agent. Okay.
Okay.
All right, we're advertising a 4% commission on 123 Main Street. Feel free to bring it forward as an offer, and if you do, we'll go from there. Right. Russ submits them over an offer to me for 123 Main Street. Comes in, let's call it 5,000 below list, but he submits it with a 4% buyer agent commission. That would be a credit from the seller to the buyer.
Mhm.
Because no longer does the listing broker pay commission out. Okay, the seller is providing concessions to the buyer
To
for the
pay
buyer
the
to then
broker.
pay over the broker compensation. Okay, I don't think anyone, I don't say anyone, I don't think 95% of agents even understand that yet.
Mm-mm.
There's several different forms that are still out there that they haven't stopped use of that say listing broker to pay. There is no listing broker to pay. It is all seller provides contributions to the buyer. The buyer then is technically paying the commission direct to the buyer's agent. It is just how you guys had your stuff going on. It's just how it's displayed on the settlement statement.
Right.
Yeah, and it has to be displayed that way. So
Correct.
Seller, buyer, brokerage. It can't be
Correct.
flipped.
So where I was going with the story, right? So Russ submits over that offer at 4% buyer agent commission paid by the seller. Well, guess what? It was an advertisement. It was not a requirement.
Mm.
And our forms actually state that. So on the listing agreement, it says, what's the dollar amount that you want to advertise? Spyglass Realty also created an addendum to allow us to advertise percentages. So then we can advertise percentage. It is not an obligation. It is an advertisement.
Okay.
So throwing
it's
this out
still
there,
negotiable,
throwing
even
this
though-
out to all the agents that have listings that are sitting right now. No, it's not the most perfect thing to do, but it is the best thing to do for your seller to bring more action to your listings. Let's say, for example, that same 123 Main Street was on market for, I don't know, 15, 20 days. We didn't have a single showing. Okay. Now we're at day 30. Hopefully we never get there to day 30 with no showing. But you know what? I might be the shitty agent that doesn't really know how to advertise or market. I'm not spending any money on it or anything. Well, if you are that agent, sorry if you are, you now have a marketing thing you can throw into your back pocket and say, you know what? I suggest that we go to all this onto the private marketing scenario and say, hey, when an agent comes to us, you are willing to provide a 4% buyer agent commission. All we have to do is sign this addendum. It is an advertisement. It is not an obligation. I want to build more traffic for you to send those buyers this direction.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Now we have some people interested. Now that we have some showings, right? They submit an offer over. Your offer didn't come in where we expected to. We can't do a 4% commission here, but we can't do a 3% commission.
Mm-hmm.
But I use that 4% advertisement to drive people to the listing.
Yeah,
What if
so it's
someone makes a
billboard.
full price offer?
I had no obligation.
Right. You can always figure something out.
You can. There's tons of.
The
things you
only
can-
thing the seller has an obligation to, on the current forms that we have now, is the commission that they're paying back to the listing agent.
Why don't you cover what happens if you have a buyer's representation agreement with a buyer that states that you are going to get a 2.5% commission, but a builder is offering 4%?
What's the math on that? The other 1.5% is no longer available.
You can't
You
negotiate.
cannot
You
take
cannot
that
change your
and-
form.
You can mend it. The
Okay.
buyer has to sign it though.
Yeah.
So that 1.5% commission that Matt's talking about. So you have your 2.5 you're getting paid. The builder's offering you 4. There's a 1.5% commission. Let's call it that's in limbo.
Mm-hmm.
If it is not used and the buyer does not approve for you to be paid that additional 1.5%, the buyer can actually use that money to go towards their closing
Right.
costs, their
Yeah.
concessions, whatever they need to. So technically, it's not being wasted as long as the seller still want to provide that and it's already signed an agreement. But the buyer agent can do an amendment to his representation agreement to allow to be paid 4%. But the whole idea is there's transparency. So there's a form called the Addendum Confirming Broker Compensation. The top and the best one if you're an Austin agent is going to be the unlock version, in my opinion.
Unlock ABOR.
Yep. So the top portion says the seller. Don't quote me on this exact verbiage, but I'm going to summarize it. The top portion has 2 boxes. This is a seller to provide compensation to, and it says listing agent percentage or dollar. Right side says say to buyer's agent percentage or dollar. Now the second portion below, buyer to provide compensation to. They even have listing agent percentage or dollar, and they also have buyer agent percent or dollar.
Yeah.
All those are going to equal up to the total commission being paid out, but there is no total commission anymore. There's an agreement with the listing agent with the seller, and there's an agreement with the buyer agent with the buyer.
Yep.
That the contract allows for the different concessions to be paid out accordingly as needed for the buyer's agent.
So it's just divided in 2 now. It's
Yeah.
2 separate.
There is, and
Separate
commissions do
agreements.
not flow for the buyers and do not flow back through the listing brokerage.
That's the big change.
Yeah.
So it's to the seller, to the buyer can pay their broker accordingly, but it's not seller to the broker of the buyer.
Correct.
Which is how it always really was. It's just now
It's just
we're
worded like very clear now,
Right.
you know.
Transparent.
Yep.
Do you guys? We're seeing a lot of. Do you? You just derailed
Is this
me.
NPR?
Yeah.
Is this
Yeah.
thoughts for your thoughts?
Do you guys? I've been thinking through this, and I don't have an answer, and I'm just curious to get. It's basically just predictions, right? No one knows, but we're seeing 2 things. Number one, we're seeing builders that are offering some pretty wild incentives, right, to reduce interest rates, plus increased commissions to real estate agents to drive buyer traffic to their newer homes. And so what I'm also seeing is clients that are more in love with interest rates than they are in the actual properties.
Yeah.
In other words, I've literally seen clients that want to be in a specific neighborhood, can afford to be in that neighborhood, but then have totally switched gears, then moved out of town
Because of the rate.
because they love the interest rate that they're able to get because the builder is offering incentives, which we all know really all that's happening is that the buyer is just pumping additional debt on top of their mortgage to drop their rate.
Yep.
Where does that go? Like, not like I know where the money goes. Like, where does this go if this continues?
So I actually had a thought, and I don't know if it's exactly doing that, but I actually had a thought when all this NAR lawsuit stuff came out. Part of me was thinking, and I didn't really have any data to back it up. It was just a thought, but I was like, man, this is going to make it even harder to compete with new builds now for resale because they're already giving those big incentives. On an agent side, the builders, the commission's right there. You know exactly what you're getting.
Mhm.
It's very transparent.
And they are not a brokerage.
Exactly. So they can pay you directly. So it's like it's just kind of pushing even more toward the new build. So it's going to be tough to compete with those.
But on the flip side, now let's look at the other direction. A builder never had the requirements that a brokerage has now.
Yeah.
So do they follow trends of what's happening now? Do they look to see, oh, you know what, maybe we're actually providing too many incentives? When the market gets more competitive,
Exactly.
like, don't I mean it bluntly, but F the agents. All we care about is our overall bottom line. So why are we going to pay these agents so
Yeah.
much when the market gets more competitive?
That's what I was getting at. Is like right now, if they see a bunch of success without all those incentives they're doing,
Mm-hmm.
business-wise, it would make sense to cut them back.
My question was more towards the housing market in general.
Okay.
So,
Like, do we think prices are all going to drop by 3%?
well, I mean, if we continue to bake in all these incentives, right, is it going to continue to drive prices up? And if so, then does the new build communities get to a point where purchasing an existing home becomes more affordable? Because if interest rates stay where they're, let's just use round numbers and say rates are at 6.5% today.
Mhm.
New builders are providing enough incentives to where like they're buying interest rates down to 4%,
Yeah.
right? If they continue to do that and things stay the same for the next 12, 18, 24 months, is it possible that property values in these new builds, they have to continue to increase in order to accommodate for baking in all of those incentives?
Or their cost to build decreases.
Well, why would the builders take a haircut?
No, they're not. Their cost to build decreases.
Because just
Their margin gets better.
Okay, how?
New suppliers, new vendors, new trades, new whatever it is.
If there's more demand, too, they're going to be able to buy supplies in a bigger purchase to bring it down. Like, there's...
You're going to kill me when I say this. Trump 2024? I don't know.
Yeah. For real.
I mean, it's still just supply and demand, though. I mean, if they're building new homes and people are drawn towards the new builds for the lower rates, then that's going to drive up demand, which is going to drive up pricing, which is going to reduce material the ability to buy materials, which will increase the cost. There's no way that material cost is going to go down if the
I hear you.
want is
Supply,
up,
yeah, they're going
But
to...
then
right.
now
If
let's
the demand is up.
but then we talk appraisal. Or
Well, and that's the other part. That's what I'm trying to say. Either the homes won't appraise, and now you cannot bake in the incentives. And if you cannot bake in the incentives, then existing homes become more appealing,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right? Or if you can continue to get the homes to appraise, it rises value up and up and up and up, where now living in a new build, although you can maybe get a 4%, well, 4% on 500,000 is a lot more expensive than 6.5% on 350,000.
Yeah.
So I'm just like wondering where this goes as these builders continue to bake these incentives in. Like, I don't think that what they're doing is a bad idea, but there's gonna be a tipping point, and I wonder if the tipping point will be appraisal,
Like, where's that point going to be at?
or will it be, increased property value, making it less affordable now, even at a lower rate?
Yeah.
I'm going with the latter personally. That's my guess. I think that builders,
Value.
well, because they make more money doing that anyway. The homes will always appraise. They're going to find their appraisers. I know that's illegal, whatever, but you're dealing with billion-dollar corporations here. Like,
Yeah.
call me, what's the word? Like,
They're going to find it, yeah. They're
right.
gonna
And
get
so
it
if they
done.
keep doing it, eventually what ends up happening is those homes become extremely expensive. And even though you can bake in a 4% interest rate, the property values are 20, 30% higher than anything that's existing build.
Yeah, so
So-
people are getting blinded by that low rate and not really
Right.
doing the math and saying
So-
that
and then-
resell.
On the flip side, I had a cash buyer that wanted to look at new construction a few days ago. And I went to them. He asked me, the buyer, he goes, okay, what incentives do we have here? Because I'm not going to be using their quote unquote flex cash, and I'm like, let me see if I get the flex cash to the sales price. I knew the answer already because they needed to comp and they wanted appraisal to be higher. I said, hey, we got 30K in flex cash. Can I reduce the sales price? Whatever it was, 500,000. Can I get to 4.7? She goes, absolutely not.
Right.
They need to build that.
She goes, I can maybe give you 10 grand. But since he's buying cash, maybe I could throw like an appliance package or something.
Because it hurts the comparable sales.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm like, okay, no offense, but there's no $20,000 appliance package you could put into a $500,000 home. So like, what else are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And she goes, well, I could throw some blinds in. I'm like, cool, okay, got 2 grand. Now where's the other 8 grand going?
Yeah, they're trying to protect their whole neighborhood.
100%. So like to Matt's scenario, the latter I kind of agree with. The builders itself on the business side of things are protecting their values so much that I think they're planning for when it does get aggressive or moves towards a seller market, not as much of a buyer market, that they can still provide their incentives because they have these higher property values. So when we do have to start a more of a higher appreciating market, they can still provide those, bake that into it, and the buyer can still come to it because they're going to have comparable comps for the appraisal as they keep climbing.
They're setting up their comps for.
But here's the shitty part: you're going to have resales that don't catch up as fast. So when this is a really good PSA. When a consumer buys a new construction, they're going to be buying at a higher value compared to the resales that are in that neighborhood. They're going to be paying for X% more for that property than anything else. To Matt's point, they're baking the percentage.
You better love your rate because you're going to pay on it for a long time.
100%. So you're sitting in a scenario where you're not going to catch up to like a break-even standpoint compared to your comps.
Yeah.
If we have a 3% appreciation rate and you're paying 5 to 6% over market value, maybe 2 years is like but even that, now let's talk expenses. Expenses on an average transaction is about 7 to 8%. If you include that as a seller, from title to commissions to you might have a survey, you may have a pre-inspection, whatever. It usually comes out to 7 8% total.
So add that all together. And
I bet all up to okay, we're at 11% right now. Okay, how are you getting 11% appreciation in a property? Okay, that's basically 3 is the average appreciation. That's 9. Let's go 3. It's 4 years. All right, I'm break even at basically like 3 years and 3.75 years.
Yeah,
like you're behind the 8 ball already if you're buying new construction that way.
But I have
That's
a
a good
4%.
Cool. You know what's even cooler? I'm gonna buy the resale. Yeah, I know you know this. I'm gonna buy the resale a little bit lower value. I'm gonna bake in some concessions into that. Okay, my agent Matt Kemps is gonna do, or Russ Cullum is gonna do an absolutely fantastic job to bake those in. I bought that property for let's call it 2 or 3% below market value. I also got some concessions, so I have a temporary buy down. Oh shit! Rates just dropped down to 4% 2 years from now.
that's exactly what I'm doing at this moment.
Okay,
Like
so I'm gonna
my
pull out the
personal
concessions
house.
I didn't use on my temporary buy down. Go straight to Matt. I'm gonna refinance my loan. I'm gonna get it to 4% and
Get
say,
a
Matt, what?
permanent.
Yeah, whatever, permanent 4%. I'm gonna say, hey Matt, can you get a little bit more? And Matt says, yeah, sure. I can maybe get like 3.875. It's not really gonna do a lot, but we can get a little. Okay, cool. Let's get to 3.75.
I'm just talking about the guy who needs the move. You buy that new build and you're pumped a bunch of 4%. You bake everything in. To your point, you're now behind the 8 ball after 2 years, and Tesla fired me, so now I don't know where I'm going back to California.
And now it's going to be really hard to sell that house because now it's an old house in a sea full of brand new ones.
Correct.
And it's
Okay, so do you think more short sales pop up in the next few years?
Well, no, because I don't know. I guess I haven't thought about that.
Me neither. That's like possibly.
Maybe in the new build communities just because of that, but only
I'm
because
dealing with 2 right now that don't want to do, and they want to do creative options.
Are they in new build communities?
Morningstar, right 29 and
That house we have in
Reagan.
Gerald for sale that recently, that listing I had, that's why it was so hard to sell, because there was a new build community right there with a big sign that said, X amount down. It barely cost anything to get that house up front. And it's like,
if you're competing against a builder, I don't want to kill myself
tough.
for saying this, but like it is so hard to sell your house if you're competing against a builder.
Right.
Because now you're having to basically price gouge yourself. Let's call that another 2%.
yeah.
So if you are going to buy in a new build community, make sure you're at the end, their last few phases of when you're going to buy that new construction.
Like 70% occupancy when
Sure.
they're almost done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I
if you're in
agree.
Easton Park right now and they just decide they're going to have some more land and they're going to keep building out further down towards, going towards, I want to say Stosny so bad, but it's Slaughter. But they're going towards Slaughter a little bit farther. Like,
Unless you plan on living there the rest of your life.
Well, yeah,
And
then
you're
you know,
10,
happy.
that's-
15 years?
You know?
Nope, 7 years?
That's why I'm thinking about the short sale thing. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, you can always refinance type of deal, and I don't see many short sales. But the person who's like got to move,
Yeah.
yeah,
Person that's trying to work the game and get a little out of it and keep upgrading, it's just not a good idea to
Right.
buy at
New
the beginning
construction.
of a new build.
No. We can
Interesting.
get resales all day long. This is
Yeah.
kind of what he's done a lot. Is you get resales, put some work into it,
Exactly.
sit on it for a little bit,
That's what I'm doing right now. That's the plan with ours.
flip it, and get some appreciation out of it. Control your costs, and you play the long term flip.
What do they say? Like the safest or most, I forget how they word it, but you buy, fix up, sell within 2 years. And you get the whole.
Are you talking about the Burr method?
Well, yeah, that. But they
Okay.
say if you continually upgrade with it every 2 years and put some work into it,
Well, because you
That's
avoid
like the-
capital gains.
exactly, and it's like the most profitable way to do it. If you can pull that, moving every 2 years would suck, but technically that's the most successful way to do
Right.
it, and just keep gaining a little bit at a time.
I wonder
But-
how much money that I want someone to be my experiment and do that.
Yeah. Well, it's like kitchen bathroom, right? If you go into a beat up house and
Yeah.
just do the kitchen bathroom,
Floors.
live in it for 2 years, you're gonna make something typically.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially if you're, that was the last clip that I just dropped. I think it came out today, was just, especially if you're also focusing on school systems.
Yeah. And what you
It's
do
a
is
big one.
when you're buying the house, buy it at the slowest time. So when the appraisal comes, they get the least amount of comps, the lowest comps. And when you sell at the time when things are selling the most, so the comps are higher.
Yep.
So there's, little things.
Call your real estate agent.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
the
for
best way to
sure.
do it, is to call me. Or Matt.
Every home I've bought has been in fourth quarter. I've never bought a home not in fourth quarter of
Yeah.
the year.
Yeah. These are the things you learn.
Damn, I'm in Q1.
Yep. Well, you closed in Q1.
Mm-hmm.
That's different.
I went under contract during the holidays intentionally.
There's so many of those little tricks you learn, They say always extend your taxes as long as you can because the audits come at the beginning.
Yeah.
Who knows if they're true, but it's worth a shot.
September, baby. September 15th, my day, not April.
Yeah, you get as many extensions as you can. Then go from there.
Any other financial tips or tricks, gentlemen, other than call your agent?
Call your agent. It's the
I am
best
not your
tip.
financial advisor.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Same.
real.
Same.
I think just wrap it on up here. We got a good one here.
Yeah. I
That's
mean,
fun.
anything you want to call out before we go off?
If you are looking to potentially make a brokerage change, or you want to have a conversation, or you just want to learn more about us, you can always set up a call with me. But you can always call the agents on our team and get feedback from them first. You can call Russ, call Megan, call Stefan, call James, call anyone on our team.
Mhm.
If you want to get some like back end information, you want to go direct to me, because talking to me is super scary to start with, and you don't want to have the hard conversations. Go talk to them. Like have them be your first resource. Talk to them. They will give their experience, what their pros are, what the cons are. Get an honest answer, and then from there, if you still want to set up a time to talk with me and want to move over, let's absolutely do it.
I will never be able to clip that out.
Why?
That was like 3 minutes.
Felt like 30 seconds.
It's true though, and like you said, I'm available too. If you ever want to consider coming to Lone Wolf, I'd be happy to take any calls. I'll be very honest. It's a great place to work.
So Matt and I do a lot of marketing for going after buyers and sellers, and we are looking for someone that has no experience in real estate, no experience in lending. I'd like to connect with you, have a conversation, find out if you'd be a good fit. We're trying to build somebody from the ground up. A lot of people pay a lot of money to do coaching and things like that. Well, we want to pay you. So I call it like earn while you learn. Reach out. I'd love to have a conversation. How about that?
That
Sounds
was a good one. You can clip that one, okay?
That was like 4 minutes.
Yeah.
No.
All right, gentlemen. Well, I always appreciate it. We'll get this one up shortly, and till the next one.
Cool.
All
Thanks,
right.
guys.
Thanks.